Live from Colorado Springs, I'm Diego Sanchez, president of HousingWire. My guest today is Geno Paluso, CEO of Sagent. Geno, thanks so much for joining me today.
No, thanks for having me, Diego.
It's so great to have you on. Yeah. Geno, your leadership journey is an extensive one. It spans from commanding Navy SEAL teams to now leading Sagent. What brought you into the mortgage servicing space, and how does your leadership journey inform your strategy?
Yeah, so obviously it's a little different journey into the mortgage servicing space here. I listened to Clayton in his opening remarks this morning, and he touched on something that is relevant to that question. And it's network, right? Mm-hmm. Defense is definitely different than mortgage. But through a network, being able to come in and help the team operationalize the new platform and take care of the platforms that we're running right now and the customers that we have right now. It all happened through a network, quite frankly.
And your goal is to really modernize a very large servicing industry. Right. How are you tackling that, and what innovation gaps do you think exist in the servicing space? Yeah,
so if you look at the technology for decades of what mortgage servicing has been doing, it's old technology, right? It's very old technology. It's old code and mainframe systems, and to change that, I've learned two things. A, it's really expensive to come up with something new, and it's very hard. And being able to change those systems, not just the risk that goes along with old code, having to put different applications onto it to make it work. Each servicer doing something different, Band-Aids, bubble gum, and rubber bands, so to speak, right, on old systems. To be able to bring something into the 21st century of cloud-based technology that's real time, right? That's been the real gap, I think, right? It's the amount of money that it takes to keep those systems up and running, the amount of money it takes to get them to where servicers need them to be and keep up with compliance, all the regulatory things that are going on, especially these days. Getting it into the real time, getting it into the 21st century, so to speak, that's what we're really focused on.
So you're not trying to build on top of this antiquated software that's out there. No. You've been building from scratch at Sagent.
We built Dara from scratch using some of the best of the technology that was already out there, so to speak. And learning from the platforms that we're currently running. We run LoanServe and LSAMs right now while we're building Dara.
So tell us a little bit more about Dara. I think that's like the big thing that you're rolling out at Sagent.
Dara is the big thing,
to say the least, right? So tell us more about it.
So Dara is, I think first, I kind of explained why we're doing it, right? Bringing the servicing technology into the 21st century. But I think just as important is how we're doing it. Before I explain to you what Dara really is. A lot of systems over time have been developed, and it doesn't matter what industry it is, have been developed by engineers and developers and then handed to the experts and say, here, what do you think about this? And they change things, but it's never quite what you want. We've taken a different approach. We have experts, people with decades of experience in servicing that came in and developed the requirements and sit next to the developers and the engineers to develop Dara. What were the pain points that you had to deal with throughout your entire career, what your operators had to deal with throughout your entire career? Now, how do we change it? And what do we build to make that different? And what we've come up with is a cloud-based, real-time, real data, real-time compliance, end-to-end servicing system that's really 6 components. First component's core, and that is your servicing. Think of that as LoanServe or LSAMs for us. That's everything you need to do for core servicing, right? Then there's the Dara consumer, which is the mobile-facing consumer experience, if you will, that plugs into the Dara core. Being real-time, self-servicing, that drives efficiencies, that drives down costs, so on. Dara AI Docs, which is the AI component of Dara right now, where we categorize and read I think we're up to 3 billion documents so far, so it's to scale.
So it's learning.
It's learning over 350 different docs, different kinds of docs, and then you've got the default. That's the hardest part of servicing, right? So your bankruptcy, foreclosure, your loss mit, your claims, all of that, and modernizing that, as well as loan movement, onboarding loans, and our data, Dara data, which is ingesting the data and making it real time so it flows across all of those components.
But ultimately, the challenges in servicing and really servicing in general, it's all about that connection between the servicer and the borrower. And making sure that they have a good consumer experience so that maybe they'll do some more work with that lender in the future. How is Dara facilitating and encouraging that connection between the consumer and the servicer?
Right, and if you look at the consumers these days, they expect real time. Look at what Amazon does. You can order something and 2 days later, you can track your order the whole 9 yards, right? You don't have to wait 24 hours for them to tell you, okay, we got your order. And then 24 hours later, okay, we're shipping your order. You can see that real time, right? And that's what consumers expect these days. And that's what we're delivering with Dara. That's the real time aspect of Dara. The servicing systems, they've served the industry very well. But like I said, with a lot of bolt-ons, a lot of add-ons, and a lot of money to keep them running because of those bolt-ons and add-ons, but they're not real time. A consumer can make a payment and they have to wait 24, sometimes 48 hours. That generates phone calls, which costs money, which drives up costs of servicers for servicing.
And it generates mad consumers.
And it generates mad consumers because they can't see what they can see with their banking applications, with Amazon. Pick something like that, where they can see it real time. They don't understand why. Why can't I see my payment that I just posted? Why do I have to wait? That's what we're changing.
We'll be talking a lot about AI here, and HousingWire has an AI summit later this year. Right. It's a big topic in mortgage.
It's huge.
So what are you building at Sagent that integrates AI in a meaningful way, again, tying it back to that servicer and borrower interaction and experience?
Right, so I mentioned AI docs, right? Using AI to read all the documentation to make sure, whether it's for a servicer that's bringing on onboarding loans, to make sure that they're complete, to make sure that they have everything that they need, they're compliant, and they can go through their entire portfolio and make sure the portfolio is compliant. That's one way, right? But as AI, and look, it's still relatively new, and it still needs the human in the loop to check it. But the more you can use AI to answer a consumer's question as a servicer, that's driving your cost per servicing each loan down, if you can do that, and the more a consumer can self-service using AI and be comfortable with it, the better off they're going to be. The more comfortable they're going to be, the better the satisfaction. So that when they look at their servicer and they get their statement, or whether they get it electronically, whatever method that they get it through, they know that they're being taken care of, and that their loan's being taken care of and serviced the right way.
So servicing more and more is becoming a scale game. There are some big servicers and they're getting bigger. How do you help a servicer in terms of scaling up and cost efficiencies? And like you said, cost per servicing each loan.
Right. The real-time aspect of what we're building, and again, let's not talk about the way it's been done for decades, right? What we're building today is, A, with AI, right? B, with the real-time for servicers compliance and being able to stay up with the regulatory changes. And we all know today that's like almost on an hourly basis something's changing, right? As well as the customer experience and being able to get feedback, immediate feedback from a customer, but also to be able to read, okay, this person has called 5 times. For the 5 times, they're calling about their escrow, or they don't understand their escrow. They don't understand why their insurance went up. They don't understand, why their principal changed or their interest changed. They just don't understand it because of the type of loan they have. To use AI to be able to educate them on that is going to huge benefits, right? Back to the phone calls. If we can reduce the number of phone calls that come into a servicer's call center, those aren't cheap. Yeah. As I've learned in this industry.
And also, the more calls that a consumer makes, the more mad that they're getting.
Correct. And if you can, if they can answer the question first before talking to a human, that's a win.
Yeah.
Right? That's a win all the way across.
That makes a lot of sense. So, all right, as we wrap up the conversation, tell me a little bit more about your product roadmap and the things that you're going to be building within Dara to continue to improve that servicing experience.
Yeah, so the first version of Dara Core, and let me back up. All the other modules that I explained, AI docs, default, consumer, loan movement, as well as our data, those are already in the market, right? They're in production, they're already out with customers now. Dara Core is the last part of Dara that will complete the full end-to-end real-time piece of Dara. That's coming this summer.
This summer?
As a matter of fact, this month.
So you've got some busy engineers right now.
We have some very busy, and we're in the last throes. So as I tell people, the last 10 miles of a marathon, the last 10 minutes of anything, the last 10% of a build is the hardest.
Of course.
And we're inside that window right now. We'll go through all the end-to-end testing, and then we'll be ready to start boarding loads here in the fall.
Amazing.
So,
Amazing.
For our first customers.
Well, Geno, again, thank you so much for joining me today. I think this was a really good conversation, and I really enjoyed it.
No, Diego, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Take care.